Hi friends, it's Deanna Williston from Our Blooming Catholic Life, and I'm coming to you today with our third Lenten video, kind of a how's it going video. So we're going to get to the books in just a minute. We're going to start out with the project, the almsgiving project of the day. This is not our regular wool hat. This is a wool acrylic hat. So it's still going to need hand washed. It's not going to have the fire retardant properties of wool, but it's going to give you the warmth of both an acrylic and a wool. It's just a nice blend mix. You have to check your fiber content. That's going to be on your wrapper. This is a very popular style, but you can't just go by looks. This comes in full acrylic, and I think it goes all the way to full wool, and there's varieties in between. So you need to check your yarn wrappers. They're going to tell you that. And you can see right here, this is 80% acrylic, 20% wool, and it says right there, hand wash, lay flat to dry. And so when you're done with your project, you're going to have to make sure that that's clearly written on these so that people know they can't just throw it in the washing machine and dry it. That's not going to be good for it. But it probably will dry a little bit quicker having that acrylic content on it. Again, not fire retardant anymore. And you still hand wash it, but it's probably going to dry up a little bit quicker. It's a little softer, probably a little bit less reactive for people who are allergic to wool, may be able to wear this. I wouldn't experiment with that myself, but they can probably do a little bit better. Now, if you have somebody with allergies to wool, go ahead and get an acrylic. Choose your fiber. I would not choose cotton. Cotton is what I would not choose. That's going to hold that water and make that awful. So ladies, you don't want to use that. If you're not sure what wool to use, ask your local yarn shop owner. Even if you're in a mega store, wow, if it's a craft store, there probably is somebody on staff who can help you out. I don't know for sure about some of the other mega marts. Now you can see there's kind of a little line here, this diagonal line. This is where our rounds join. Last time we made a square. This we're working on the hat from the very top to the bottom, and we're working in rounds, and this is only crochet. It is a formula pattern though. So I'm going to show you a couple of the basic stitches, and then we're going to mock start one up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, oops, I stuck my needle in the loop, right? I'm going to yarn over, pull it through. That's a chain one. Yarn over, pull it through. That's a chain one. Now you're going to notice, hey, that's a bit of a small hook. I'm using a G, even though this yarn calls for an H. Why? I want it to be a little bit tighter so it's warmer. If you're living somewhere where it's not freezing cold and you want a hat, you may want to go up a needle size. The needles are going to they come in different diameters, and that's often listed on here. While this says a G, it also lists that it's a 4.25 millimeter, and that's the diameter of the shaft. The size of the shaft is what determines how big your loop is when you make it. So that was our chain two. We start every row with a chain two. And now we're going to do, a half double crochet, which is our basic stitch for this hat. So I'm going to yarn over once again. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to pull up a loop. See, now I have three. Can you see that? I'm going to yarn over again, and I'm going to pull through all three. It's a little tricky on the first one, but after that it's easier. Okay, so yarn over. I'm putting it in there, grabbing a yarn, pulling it through. I have three, yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, through the hole, grab one, up. Now I have three, yarn over, pull through. Now you're probably going to ask, where am I putting this needle? When you look at the edge, can you see how there's all these little V's, right? They're pointing at this hand over here, going that way, kind of like a greater than symbol. You can tell I'm a math tutor. So when I yarn over and I'm ready to go in, I'm going underneath that V, right underneath. You can see it's caught nicely by this other third stitch underneath. And that's where I'm going. I'm going in that hole right under the V. And there's an easier way to do it, but it's going to make your hat, again, a little bit more airy because it's going to make the loops bigger. And I'm going to show you that other way now. So I'm going to put it in. I'm not going to go in that little tight hole. I'm going to go in this big one. I'm going to go below it. And you're going to see what I'm saying in just a second. So as I'm going along, you can see this is pulling that whole row up higher, and it's making a bigger hole here than these were. And so that's not the one I do. I like to go in just underneath the V, just underneath, and I make this. Now when I get the whole way around, I'm going to be back over here at this chain two. Now how do I join that row? Does that make that neat little diagonal here? It's going to be this. Now I'm mocking it up here because this is not the actual thing. I'm going to go into there. I'm not going to yarn over. I'm going to go into my regular spot. So in this, because it's a chain 2, I'm going into that second chain. Just going to slip my needle in, grab the yarn, pull it up, and now I have 2. But I'm not going to yarn over again. I'm going to pull this first one through the second one. Ta-da! And now it's flat. And in fact, this is how I like to make the edging on the hats. It makes a really simple edging and just makes that edge a little bit stronger. So we're going to do it like we're doing the edging now. I'm going to stick in there, just pull through a yarn. In, grab the yarn, in, grab the yarn, pull it through. In, grab the yarn. I'm pulling through both of those, right? Isn't that really cool? Now this looks striking because it's 2 different colors. You could always finish it with 2 different colors. Oops, you can see that hole got big. I went too far down. I want to go just under that V. But this makes for like a very nice edging on blankets or anything else. It's called the slip stitch. And as well as joining your rows, it makes for very fancy edging. And on one of the hats, I actually came back and added a color to the bottom. So this guy's going to have 4 strings to deal with at the end. This, I actually did a reverse single crochet. That's a little crazy. We'll deal with that another time. So this is the basic hat. I'll show you in a second how to get started because I do have this brand new one right here. I'm going to pull some up. So when I do it, I'm going to make a slip knot. I'm not going to go really over this. I'm just going to show you I'm making a pretzel. You can look up something else on slip knot. I end up with a little pretzel and I'm going to go under this leg of the pretzel. I pull my yarn. There I have a slip knot. It is a slip knot. I can make it bigger, make it smaller. So you like to tighten it a little bit on your needle. Sorry, needle. This is a hook. See the end? It's a hook. If I'm knitting, I use needles. So I'm just going to yarn over, remember? Pull through. That's my chain 1. I'm just chaining 2. Just like every round of the hat, I'm using a chain 2 to start the hat. This time, though, I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to go straight into the middle of that V. And I'm going to yarn over and pull up. Again, I have my 3. There is my first half double crochet. Now for the women's hat, the large hat, I'm going to do this 8 times. And the men's, I like to do 10. So if you were making something smaller, maybe do 6, okay? Let's see here. 3, 4. It's a little fiddly with that other tail down there. Make sure you keep him out of the way. It doesn't really matter how many I'm doing now because I'm just practicing to show you. I think I'm at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 5. We'll do like the kid size. We're going to see what this 6 looks like. Because after this, it's really the same pattern. So I'm going to slip it in there. Remember I said slip it right under the V, or as we like to, or you could call it the second chain. And I'm just pulling some yarn through. There's my slip stitch. Okay, so for the first round then I'm going to do my chain 2 again. And I'm going to half double crochet in the exact same stitch. That is my increase. When I do 2 stitches in one spot, that's an increase. That should make sense. 2 in 1, it's an increase. And then I'm going to do 1 regular half double crochet in the stitch next to it. The next half double crochet here, I'm going to go in and do 2 again. Increase. And then 1, I would, oops, split a little bit. I would call it an even, 1 even, because it's a 1 half double crochet and 1 half double crochet, that's even. Then I'm going to do an increase. Right? And I'm going to do 1 even. And then I'm going to do, oh, look, I think did I make it the whole way around? No, I think I have 1 more to do. 1 more increase. And 1 more even. It's just a little bit hard to see that guy. Now I'm back at my chain 2, 1, 2. I'm going to go in that second one. Oop, missed him. Pull it through, slip stitch. And I'm going to go back, chain 2 again, increase. This time, instead of just doing 1 even, I'm going to do 2 even. So in the next half double, I'm doing 1. And the next one, I'm doing 1. That is 2 even, right? And then I'm doing 1 increase. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, even. And I'm going to keep doing this until I get up to an increase and then 7 even. After I do the 7th row with the increase, okay, so I have the increase and then 7 even. After I finish that row, I'm just going to start doing chain 2, go even, chain 2, even, and it's just going to be chain 2 and then a half double crochet all the way around until you get to the length that you like. The length for the women's is around, I like 6 or 7 inches, and the men's around 10. So for kids, maybe 5. I don't know. Depends on the kids that you have. And if you have somebody there that you're trying it out on, it's going to make it super easy because you can just pop it on their head whenever you need to test it. So that is our almsgiving project right now. How are the books going? The books. Okay, the books are going pretty well, but there are some unexpected snafus. The book I was reading at night on Wonders with my husband, he's not super crazy about me reading aloud to him. And I think I've forgotten that. I knew that at one point. I totally forgot. And so I'm reading that to myself, and I don't think there's 40 little chapters, so I'm not reading it every night, which is all good because of my little system I involved, right? My system, I wrote it out, and I gave each of my 4 books a number. The Consecration to St. Joseph is 1, Grumble-Free Year is 2, 3 is Simple Acts of Kindness, and 4 is The World of Wonders. That's the one that I'm only reading every now and then. So whenever I get to a date, I write the date and what I did. So here's a date, here's number 1, and this is what jumped out at me really from that lesson. In book 2, this is really what jumped out at me. 3, and I'm putting the page number so I can find it when I go back. This is really what jumped out at me. And 4, there again. And so each day, I thought I would use different colors maybe for each book, but what's really working right now anyway is a different color for each day, because sometimes a day is really short, sometimes it goes over onto the next page. So it's easy for me to see what day I'm still on by using that. And I am finding that these 2 books go together. They seem like they were made for each other. Oh, it's like a marriage made in heaven. They're very happy because I'm finding that grumbling comes from a self-centeredness, and you may not even realize that. And how do we stop being self-centered? Simple acts of kindness. So these books are really super complementing each other right now. Now, sometimes I'm not able to do like a whole chapter, but remember how I said the little sections are marked off. Ta-da! So if I can make it to one of these, I can put my bookmark in and I know to start there the next time. And that's working out really well because some nights, some chapters are longer than others. And so sometimes I'm just doing a little section and sometimes I can do 2 sections. I'm not always going over these reflection questions because I found that by the time I get to the reflection questions, I'm actually already reflecting on the reflection questions without knowing what they are. So it might be really nice to read them before I read the chapter. Oh, that's a great idea. And then if I haven't, when I get to the end, I look at them and say, have I addressed these? And if I haven't, then I can go into this Your Turn, which remember takes you more deeply into the reflection questions. This, I'm still, of course, in the lesson part. I'm pretty much doing 2 pages, one here, every day. And these are doing really well. There's not, as you can see, there's not like the writing to do or that kind of block on every one. Like this one didn't have it. These insights are really great, but I will tell you this print is smaller than I realized. I don't know why. Like, this is so tiny. Look how much picture is on this page and how tiny the box of text is. So these are a little hard to read. I have to have my reading glasses or a really good light and really focus to read them. But I'm really excited about these. I think, my grumbling is probably a little hardcore. So when I grumble, I have to stop and think, what's a solution? What is an act of kindness I can do here instead of grumbling? How can I break that cycle? Not perfect, and I'm going to bring in a book in a couple days and show you, because it really makes me think of these, and it's really great, and you're going to love it. So let's get to the Consecration to St. Joseph, though. This was one of our other books. I will tell you, if you've already done other books by Marian Fathers on consecrations, this is not the same. I knew that. I knew it was Father Donald Calloway and not Father Michael Gately, but it is a very, very different book. And I told you because Father Donald Calloway has a video that tells you that there is only 1, 2 pages. Oh, this is the introduction. Each of these lessons is only 1, 2 pages. See, 1, 2. And he said, you know, it had to be that way. It was very important to him. And honestly, I'm going to say right here, no disrespect, but blah, blah, blah. Because if you look at the bottom, you also have to pray this litany. And it starts out, pray the Memorare. And these aren't terrible. Let's see here. So you've done 2 pages of reading. And this is why I thought I could do all these things, because I thought I could just do these little chunks. The Litany of St. Joseph, which is easier said with someone else, it is a page and a half on its own. And whether, I guess it's still probably a page and a half, even if you do it in Latin. So let's look at the other one, the next prayer. It's on 240. The Memorare, which is basically the Memorare, but it's to St. Joseph. I found that confusing as well. But then you get in, he starts assigning essays. So now we're happy to come to the back of the book and read essays. And that was on page 100. Remember, there were different parts of the book, the part of the consecration, the prayers, the little essays, and then like more resources. So you can see here, this is one of the essays. 1, 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages, 6 pages, 7 pages, 8 pages, 8.5 pages. So where did our 2 pages a day go? Because in order to do the consecration, we have to all do these. So now we're over 10 pages, 11, 12 pages of reading a night, which is not horrible, but that's not what I planned for, and that's not what he said. So I was a little disgruntled about that because it's making it more challenging to fit it into the day. That's not the end of the world, though. I'm okay with that. It's not the worst. I'm not happy about it because I told you all, because that's what he said. And I feel a little guilty about that. So these lines, these blue lines, the headers for each day, are actually a line from the Litany of St. Joseph. Again, that works great. Starts out with a quote. His quotes are probably my favorite part so far. But I will say I'm not super excited about some of the rest of it. And why? Like here, he says, the Holy Spirit wants you to know and love St. Joseph. With the exception of Our Lady's life, the Holy Spirit was more active in the life of St. Joseph than in any other saint. The earthly father of Jesus never did anything without seeking the direction of his Holy Spirit. St. Joseph's docility to the Holy Spirit made it possible for him to communicate with God even while he slept. And we know of 2 times that St. Joseph consulted the Holy Spirit, or actually the Holy Spirit came to him in his dream and told him what to do. So where does this come from? Literally no idea. There is no reference here. Did the Holy Spirit tell this to Father Don? Because that'd be awesome to know that. But we don't know where that came from. So there's jumps in logic. He just starts saying things. And I've spoken with a couple of people about this at this point, and they're like, I just brushed that off. Here's my problem. Because there's other ones, like wherever St. Joseph is present, the Holy Spirit is present. What? That's weird. And it says, and St. Joseph would tell you that if you want to be filled with the Holy Spirit, there's one absolutely necessary thing, prayer. Without prayer, you'll never be able to have intimacy with God. Without prayer, you would not be able to follow the direction of the Holy Spirit. That absolutely. That first line, where did that come from? I don't know where that came from. And here's the assumption above. It says that if you're going to follow the direction of the Holy Spirit, you have to be whole. The Holy Spirit will lead you in the way of holiness. Holiness is living in intimate, loving communion with God. More specifically, holiness is observing the 2 great commandments of love of God and neighbor, avoiding sin, leading a life of virtue, and abiding in sanctifying grace. And none of that's possible without the Holy Spirit in your life. But it's kind of like you need the Holy Spirit to get the Holy Spirit. It's a little bit confusing logic. And then they're saying, I guess the jump is that St. Joseph is so holy and so in community with the Holy Spirit that the Holy Spirit has to be wherever he is. I don't know. The logic isn't really presented here. And maybe that is, remember how he insisted on the 2 pages of text? I'm wondering if there wasn't some part of the logic that got taken out in order to be succinct. That is my best guess, because the danger in jumping in and promoting this with students, doing it with your kids, when that's not there, when the logic chain doesn't follow, is that they're going to think that's how logic works. And lots of people use faulty logic to lead our kids astray, whether they do it on purpose or not. There's many arguments with abortion, like my body, my choice. It's not your body. And then they might concede, well, okay, it's not my body, but you can't force one person to take care of another person. It's also not true, but because you can. You make parents take care of kids, or they have to give up the rights to those kids. If you are paid to take care of somebody, you have to take care of them. There are laws about people taking care of people. So it's faulty logic. And when they see true logic, like one of the syllogisms of St. Thomas Aquinas, it's going to confuse them, and they're going to get sloppy with their syllogisms, and they're going to have this same sloppy logic, and it's going to lead people into error, which is where heresies come from. And so we have this problem so often in our world in church, where it's just one little step that's missing from your logic. You don't present it, but it becomes an assumption that you carry forth, and it does lead you into heresy. And maybe it's just a minimal heresy that first time, but it can lead you deeper and deeper in. A lot of people will say, like, the expression namaste. That is the light in me sees the light in you. So anybody could say that, because it's like the good in me sees the good in you. And they keep going on to where then they're starting to say more and more things that are, what is that? Is that Buddhist? Is that Hindu? And they start mixing their religion, filtering in other little bits and pieces from other religions. And before they know it, they're full on actually doing practices of other religions that may or may not be inviting things into their life that they really don't mean to invite in. And yet it's a very slippery slope, friends. It is. Do not teach your children sloppy logic. And so I am going ahead and reading this because I know what logic is. And honestly, I will tell you, if my students turned this in, I would not accept this work, even from my high schoolers. I would not. And I feel cruel doing that. I love Father Don, but this is not something that I am okay with. So I'm focusing on the actual quotes, the things that he has actually documented. I am reading the essays. I am okay with praying the Litany to St. Joseph. If you read it, it's lovely. I don't know. The logic is jumping around. It's just so dangerous. Like, I get what he's saying. St. Joseph is the father of the Trinity on earth. I wish he would say, like, St. Joseph is like the father of the Trinity on earth. There's just little bits there, little bits that can easily lead you into heresy. And I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying, in his effort to reduce the page length, I feel like perhaps he shortened it, took out some of the steps of logic that are there, tightened up the language, and it actually, I can see my professor from Nature and Grace just twitching. I can see it. This would not pass in my college classes. I know it would not. And I'm not saying that to be cruel. If you want to read the book, you can. And it does say there's nothing in here contrary to the faith. It has an imperti, it has an imperator, it has the nihil obstat, but I'm just telling you, you want to be careful with what you do here, because there is logic missing. And to me, it's a little borderline just because of that, because it's not written out. And you can't just skip a step in a syllogism. You can't skip. If A, then B. If B, then C. So if A, then C. Okay, but you can't just say, if A, then C. You can't do it without defining B. Without B, that syllogism makes absolutely no sense. I'm sorry, it doesn't. And so this book I'm doing with a little bit more reservation. And so if I don't have enough time to do all of them, I'm just like reading the 2 pages with the quotes, focusing on the quotes. And then I'm jumping into these books because these are absolutely bearing fruit in my life. And so that's where I'm in my Lent. I hope you put down in the comments below how Lent is going for you, what resources you're using. If you would prefer to see a particular craft, let me know. I have something new coming up soon. And God bless you, friends. Bye.